After the first summit, it certainly sort of seemed like the expectation was that South Korea and China would then sort of do some of the heavy lifting. South Korea seemed to do the heavy lifting when it came to diplomacy, really making a connection with Kim Jong Un. We have the Olympics, the unified Olympic team, and China, the expectation was that they would put sort of the screws to him economically. So now we have Summit 2.0. What will South Korea and China be looking for?
Well, I think South Korea in particular is going to be looking for some relaxation of sanctions. And you say, Jim, that sounds odd. I thought it's North Korea that wants relaxation of sanctions. And it's true, North Korea does. That's a top priority. But you reference President Moon of South Korea's efforts to build relations between the two countries. And he started off and was really going gangbusters there for a while. But international sanctions laws and U.S. sanction laws has really put a crimp in his ability to pursue that policy. So he's sort of taken that as far as he can go, and he can't really go any further unless this summit is successful and unless the U.S. agrees to relax some of those sanctions. So I think that's a big priority for Moon. His popularity has been dropping somewhat. This is his signature issue, and right now he's sort of hamstrung by the sanctions. So I think they would like to see the U.S. and North Korea just make progress in general to add political momentum, but also to reduce the sanctions. And then I think China is more in a wait-and-see attitude. I think if the numbers can be believed, then they have cracked down and they have enforced sanctions. And I think what they want to see is just slow, stabilizing progress. They don't want Mr. Trump or Mr. Chairman Kim to suddenly decide some new and wacky thing that no one had talked about just because the two of them are sitting alone together in a room.
Hey, we just want to point out that the president is now descending from Air Force One, having arrived in Vietnam. I wanted to ask you just one more thing. After one of the other things that the president agreed to after the summit was a halting of the joint military exercises between South Korea and the U.S. And there's sort of another country watching over this. It's Japan. Any idea what Japan is hoping for?
Japan doesn't want to be sold out. It's sort of on the outside looking in. It always has been. If you go back to negotiations in the mid-1990s, they always get nervous when the U.S. and North Korea, their sworn enemy, sit down together. They're afraid that the president and the chairman will make a deal that somehow undermines their interests. Now, this is a tough nut for Abe, the head of Japan, because he's trying to wrap his arms around President Trump, maintain a very, very positive relationship, be very supportive at the same time that he's trying to protect Japan's interests. But basically, Japan does not have any leverage in this situation and doesn't have a lot of influence. So they're just going to have to ride the wave. They're going to have to hope that whatever Kim and Trump decide will be positive and will not put Japan in more danger.
As we watch President Trump here, Jim, disembarking from Air Force One, it is always remarkable when a U.S. president, it hasn't happened often when a U.S. president visits Vietnam, a country obviously that we were engaged in a significant major military conflict with for many years, and you see the crowds that line up to welcome a U.S. president. So just taking this moment in as the president of the United States disembarks from Air Force One to meet Chairman Un of North Korea.